Hey folks, Dude here, and while I've had some requests, this is going to be Knife Blog episode number 2. Weird webcam kind of angle here thing, but of all people, John Wayne Colt 45, he's one of my absolute favorite friends in terms of like knives and stuff. I mean, dude has got an awesome collection. He's really like kind of like the sounding board I bounced off of. And he pretty much was saying, okay, dude, you're showing off knives. You're going to have to bring a lot more of the old school stuff that we all want to really see and play with. So, you know what? Let's just do that right here and now. He was like, dude, I really want to see TEKNA'S. Well, okay, I can do TEKNA'S. Let me do a little bit of a camera angle thing here. Hang on one second. Okay, you do some TEKNA'S. I mean, I can do TEKNA'S, okay? TEKNA'S are not a problem. I have plenty of TEKNA'S. Now, what is a TEKNA? Not a TEKNA. Well, it's one of these. It's essentially the same bleeding knife. It's just basically a case of the guys that started making it after TEKNA folded. They became known as TEKTITE. TEKTITE is still an active website. You can buy stuff there. The only major difference is it doesn't say TEKNA on it. It says TEKKnife. But here's the funny thing. It says TEKKnife, stainless steel, Japan, as opposed to, we'll put this one away, as opposed to the TEKNA, which actually doesn't. Here's another TEKKnife right here. It's the same damn thing. But instead of saying TEKNA, well, this one basically says TEKNA Stainless Steel Japan. The other one said TEKKnife Stainless Steel Japan. So TEKNA versus TEK. Now, the other thing, too, is these things are still around. I want the latest iteration. The latest iteration is one of these guys in titanium. I want one of those knives. $200 knife, same basic knife, but it is titanium. And unlike the stainless varieties, well, the long and the short is, I don't know if this is going to show good on my webcam, but you can rust these things, okay? See all the red inside the holes here? I'm going to need to get in there and clean it out. Inside all the grooves, all the handle grooves is all rusted up. This is a basket case I bought up off of eBay, and I got it for a really good price. Now, this is basically their standard, nothing crazy, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it was like, their dive knife. Is it really a good dive knife? No, it's basically it's a double-edged needle point that basically just shears off whenever you start probing, and they actually did a version of these that were knocked off square on the end, so it actually was a little better. They actually do have another dive knife. It's somewhere deep in my closet somewhere, but I'll find it. But the long and the short is the basic stock on these things is about 1/4 inch of stainless steel, okay? It is all one homogeneous piece of stainless steel, and of course they do all the various work to it. It does actually have saw teeth on board, and I'm going to go through basically a quick run of the range. I have actually done TEKNA videos, but this is going to be like, my knife blog, so you guys can see where I'm going to. The actual size of this thing, and I do actually have very big hands, but I literally can make the handle disappear in my palm. It is actually a good sized piece, gives you good purchase. It's really intended for a foil grip, where you basically wrap your hands around, put your thumb in that first hole, and that is your foil grip. Kind of more of a, riposte and stick kind of a fencing thing. Not really that big a deal. Okay, but that's basically the classic TEKNA dive knife would be one of these guys. You had two varieties. They have the straps, and of course you also have the belt clip. Now, I really don't carry one of these regularly anymore, but I do always have one nearby. It is a good sized piece. Blade length is roughly 3 inches or so. Alright, let's be technical here. Blade is going to be, from guard to tip, it's about 3.5 inches or so. Not a small piece, not a huge piece. Overall, alright, let's do a quick overall. Overall on this booger is about 7.5, roughly. It's done in millimeters, so it's not going to be the same thing. Alright, let's look what else in the range they got. These actually did come out, humorously enough, in a leather scabbard. So basically you have a snap, you pop the snap, there's this little barrel looking guy that goes in the last hole to hold it in place, and of course it would drift out. And these sheaths are actually pretty hard to source. The plastic ones are much easier. So basically you have that, of course you got one in stainless. The other finish the knife was available in is of course a baked on black paint. It is not oxide, it is paint. So they literally took that knife and basically just painted it and baked it on. It's the same knife, nothing crazy. Now the scabbards themselves, and these two scabbards are in really, really nice shape. They've probably been carried very lightly. And I really don't use these knives because the Scabbards are just about damn near irreplaceable, and I don't want to screw something up that I can't find again. So I really don't play with these a lot. The range of stuff, it was designed by a guy named Oakenhut or Ottenhut or something like that, but the guy's a design guy. You know his stuff. You really know his stuff. And, of course, they actually had something known as a credit card knife. You push the blade out, the button then locks it in place, so it's not going to go anywhere. It is really a fairly thick credit card knife, and in cross-section it's every bit of about 5 millimeters, 4 millimeters, probably closer to 6, so it's almost a 1/4 inch thick. It's really not a great credit card knife. It's just too fat. Is it really a good knife? Well, it's really got not a lot of point, but it's got a buttload of belly, so it really is kind of more of a general-purpose knife. Edge on it, I'm not going to really play with this thing much. I'm really going to have to sharpen it much. It's more of a collector piece than anything. And it really is just pretty much just, well, it's roughly about the same size as a credit card. Case in point, it's kind of a cool exercise in engineering. It's really not a good example in its finest instance. Its final existence will be, well, probably in a box somewhere as a collector piece. It does have riveted construction, ABS. This thing's not going anywhere anytime soon. It's probably going to be around for when the roaches and, well, you know, SHTF occurs. Call that what you will. All right, they actually did have the smaller versions of their knives. They had something called a hidden edge, and all it is really is just, you know, for all intents and purposes, all it is just a little tiny scabbard that the blade sticks in. You will see these things. Humorously enough, you will see these things still for available purchase through TEKNA'S, and people put these things on, of all things, either their buoyancy vest or they put it on their toolbox. And I mean toolbox, like, you know, the thing hanging off their tank. You know, they basically got all their gauges on there, lets them know volume, time, depth, all that good stuff. You know, you got your holy trinity of diving gauges. Sometimes they'll put one of these guys on board. The actual cool part was the toolbox, or the gauge cluster, had one of these knives on board. You can find them sometimes on eBay, and the gauge cluster was just a rubber enclosure with one of these scabbards locked in place with one of these dive knives. Now, if you're smart, if you ever take these things in salt water, you pull them out, you wash them off, you wash out the scabbard, you wash off everything with, of all things, probably just soap and water. Just a little bit of dish detergent and water, get the salt out of there. They won't rust up on you. You really don't need to oil them much, because what happens is this is a uniquely micro-polished. I don't know the actual process they did to them, but they really are fairly hard to rust for 420 stainless. And I think they're 420. I know they're one of the higher carbon stainless steels. They actually hold an edge pretty good. They are not the most, well, put them into a situation where you really want to start prying them, because you can make these things shear, okay? They will break. I've never broken one. I'm very nice to my knives. I do not treat them like that. That is stupid. Use the proper tools for the proper jobs. Your knife is not a pry bar. Don't do that. So, going through the rest of the range, they also had some other guys here. These are kind of cool. They basically had a double-edged version. This one actually happens to be a Hofritz variety. For some reason, I'm really hooked on buying stuff that says Hofritz on it. And these were in California, tweaked out about because they're switchblades. They're not switchblades, okay? What happens is the guard retracts into the handle. The blade never moves. And yes, that does actually say Hofritz. So this is one of those kind of cool ones. And this is actually unusual, too, because this is actually a single edge. They actually had two varieties. So you had a single edge variety, and you have a double edge variety. Hopefully I got the right one here. Hang on one second. I got a bunch of crud in here. And this one's unusual because it is also the black blade. So basically you have the same dealie. Push the guard. Guard pops in. And this is actually just a miniature for the... it's just a miniature for the dive knife, really. I mean, same basic kind of idea. You kind of have a double-edged point going to this serrated edge. It was huge back in the 80s, man. Everybody loved doing that to their knives. You know, everybody had serrated edges. You know, like you look at the Gerbers and a lot of the survival knives, you know, they really, really amped that thing up to the max. And this is the single-edge variety, so it's roughly the same blade blank, and they only do a mild grind with slight belly. You know, kind of a mild spear point. Not the best grind, not the best knife. Really kind of more of a curiosity than anything at this point. You really probably should store these things with the guard retracted. But the thing is, springs do not wear out by being stretched out. Springs wear out by cycles of being worked. That's where your spring wear comes from. So, if anybody ever tells you, oh no, don't ever leave magazines loaded, you can leave magazines loaded without a single flipping problem. The problem happens is when you unload, reload, that's when you're wearing the stuff out. Now, let me see if I find another one of these guys that's kind of interesting. Yes, okay, here's another one of the ones, and this one's being an unmarked variety, so you can see what this guy is for what it is. You know, you can see this one's getting, the spring's a little tired, or it might need to be worked a few times. Nah, the spring's getting tired. I mean, this thing's been made back, well, okay, let's see. Copyright date on the paperwork is, I don't even know if this one's got a copyright. Probably not. But this one was known as the micro knife. So, basically, it had that same deal. It's just a single edge. And, you know, it's really kind of more of a kind of cool thing, because you can stick this thing in your shirt pocket. And look, for all intents and purposes, it's just like a pen. That was a major selling point of these things, is you would have a knife on board, you wouldn't freak people out, and it wouldn't really drag that much attention into itself because it was just kind of there. They also had another variety. This is known as the, forget this one. I might put it in annotations if this will allow me to do so. You know what? Hang on 1 second here. I might luck out. It might actually be in my eBay. Hang on. I'm going to cheat like a crazy person here. Let's see here. I might luck out. You know, it's bad when you forget the model names of certain things. Hang on. Alright, I'm going to get really specific here and just play this up. And I know I'm doing this stuff like live, so, you know, it is what it is. Let's see what we got here. They just call it a folding knife, but I know it's something else. Maybe like hidden edge. I forget what the actual nomenclature on this guy is. And I'm just horrible in that regard sometimes for names. You know, being a dyslexic, I really have bad memory. But the trick on this guy is you have a button, and there's a ball bearing in there. That's what actually locks this thing up. But you push the button in, the blade unlocks, and then you can take the jimping on, of all things, all the way around the back side of the blade, and also into the thumb area. You then can take the blade and pull it up and open one-handed. It is very, very, very light. The blade is not a great blade design. It is a doppelganger for the for the survival knife. So basically you have that cutout there. You know, there is nothing there. It's just a cutout. You know, it's not like an optical illusion. I can actually stick my finger through the blade. And when you close the blade up, it, for all intents and purposes, it disappears. It's still there, but it is a perfect match for the cutout windows in the handle. Hidden edge. Alright, folks, I think it's probably getting on to that break-off time because I'm talking about stuff and going on and on and on. And these things are available on eBay, especially the dive knives. If you look around and you scrounge long and hard enough, you'll probably find a few. They are definitely around. The pricing on these things goes from, you know, total boat anchor beater to, you know, sky's the limit. There's guys that have them on there in the box. And yes, I do have some in the box. And, you know, new in the box. And normally what I'll do is I'll have like one of these organizer guys, and this is what I do with my stuff, is I'll put them in these things, and they all have their own little compartments, and they don't get buggered up. That is probably the best way to preserve your stuff. I mean, because, you know, plastic bumping up against plastic is probably not going to hurt it in the long run. Your biggest danger to your knives is always a case of when you drop them. Just be very careful with your knives. Don't cut yourself up. Don't break your stuff. And just be nice to your knives, and they'll be there for posterity's sake. And you can have your own little knife museum. So this is going to be episode 2 of Dude's Knife Blog. And I'm talking about TEKNA'S. Oh, good times. You know what? I need some ticker goodness. Just give me 1 second here. So this is going to be the episode number 2 of the Knife Blog. We're talking about TEKNA'S. Probably I might get into other stuff, you know, bigger names, you know, really glaringly 80s stuff. But I just wanted to give you guys kind of a cool thing and not go too terribly crazy. But this is knives, and this is Knife Blog. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Eat good, keep it a 10 ring, and as always, TEKNA goodness. Good times. See you guys.